We've got former Griswold Tiger David Thompson with us. Two very successful years at Hawkeye Community College. As you can see now by the hat, headed to Iowa State. That's the big news recently. You signed with ISU to keep on running. Talk about how that all came about.
Well, after indoor nationals, I really started looking around for another place to run at, and it just turned out Iowa State was a perfect program that would transfer for me and everything, and they have a good mid-distance program, so it made the decision pretty easy for me.
That indoor nationals certainly was a highlight this past season, I know, with the national championship and the 4x8. Talk about how that kind of spurred everything as far as continuing on.
Well, not a lot of D1 programs are looking at kids that are running 154, 153, or anything for the 8, so definitely winning that got a little bit better people looking at me, and I did end up splitting 152 in that, so that sparked a little bit more interest, so it worked out all good.
Who were some of the other schools that came after you had that performance?
There was Wichita, there was a whole bunch of D2s, there was Iowa, and just a bunch of other private colleges and stuff. Those were basically the main D1s that were looking at me.
What was your reaction when you first realized that all these schools were interested?
I was overwhelmed. I didn't know which route I was going to go until I really started digging into academics and figuring out what I'm going to be able to do there for academics. And after going through that, it basically made it pretty easy at Iowa State.
What are some things you know about the Iowa State program so far, and some things that have you excited about heading there to run?
Well, I do know they've got two kids that are going 146 in the 800 right now. They've got another guy that they signed that's coming that's at 147, and another kid that's at 149. So I'm going to have multiple amazing athletes to train with that are going to just push me and make me better.
What can you run?
The fastest I've ever ran is 152 split.
I know. I'm talking about in the future. When do you want to get down to?
My next goal is to break 150. That's my goal for this first year, and then wherever it takes me after that.
What were you running in the open eights in high school?
Like 207. My fastest 205.
So how have you done this?
Just training, a little bit of maturity and dedication, and just being able to train with guys that are my own ability, and just being pushed by people that have been doing running for a while and just helping me out with everything.
So at what point in your running career did you kind of identify 800 as your biggest strength?
It'd have to be my senior year. I mean, I hardly ever ran the 800 in high school. I was more of like a 32 runner. I would always run the 3200 because I just had a little bit of natural endurance. That was just kind of my thing. But as I got older, I just developed more strength and speed. And on top of my background of running the 32 all the time, I had that endurance. So running an 800 for me in high school was my best event, just because I had that strength and speed and endurance, and it just progressed as I moved on to college.
Talk about your 2 years at Hawkeye Community College. I know we mentioned that indoor nationals was a big success for you this year with the national championship in the 4x8, but what are some of the other big memories you take away from your 2 years in Waterloo?
Just being a part of the team. First year program was amazing. Coming to Hawkeye, I mean, I was taking a pretty big risk because they've never had a track team before. It was a brand new program for us, so it's kind of amazing. Just set the standard, and have all of the records for a few years, and just kind of be a part of that base for Hawkeye.
And I know we talked a couple of years ago when you first signed with Hawkeye, but let's kind of revisit out of high school. What was the recruiting process like at the time, and were you always planning on running in college somewhere?
not at all. It was kind of like a last second thing. I mean, I've thought about it, but I wasn't really serious into doing it because I didn't know what I wanted to do in college. I hadn't thought about it. So it all came up really fast. There was a few community college that I kind of talked to a little bit with running cross country and track, and then Tyler Mulder reached out to me and said they were starting a new program and everything. And I looked at all of their majors and stuff that they had, and they had natural resource management, which seemed to be a good fit for me, I thought, and it turned out to be perfect. So that was my decision process, and then I signed that spring with Hawkeye.
So has Coach Mulder ever said to you, or you said to him, hey, pretty good thing we got you convinced to keep running?
Yeah, for sure. He was even impressed with me and what we've done in a few years, because he thought I was going to be able to maybe break 2 in the 800. That was his goal. That'd be a big goal for someone that's running 207s or something in high school. But I just kind of came out of nowhere, and I was an underdog, and coming in and running the fastest times and stuff towards the end of the season was amazing. Just motivated me even more, and after indoor nationals really convinced me that I better run somewhere else. It's kind of my decision process.
I remember having a visit with Coach Jeff Topham, probably I think it was at the state cross country qualifying your senior year, and he said you have just a ton of potential in running once you get on kind of a dedicated training program. Can you kind of speak to how your commitment and dedication level to the sport has increased?
Yeah, for sure. So in cross country, my biggest weakness was I never put in miles. In high school, I was probably running 25 miles a week, maybe. And some of the guys I was competing with were running, 40 to 60. And so in coming into college cross country, I did run 40 to 50 miles a week. And that brought not my 5K PR time down, but my 8K, I would come through the 5K in about 16 flat, which is way faster than I would run a 5K in high school. And that's just all of the base mileage. So that really got me convinced on, if I buy into what they're saying, what I could actually accomplish.
So what kind of a schedule do you have for this summer does Iowa State have you on a specific, what rubric you got to follow, or what's the plan here?
Not yet. What I got going on right now is I'm building up a little bit of base mileage, and I'm gonna put on a little bit of muscle, put on a little bit of weight, and just work on a few weaknesses. So my weakness would be holding my form together when I'm fatigued, and I'm gonna work on that this summer. He told me to pick a few things that I think are my biggest weaknesses, and we need to work on it this summer. So I'm better with that when I start coming in and training.
You mentioned the times that some of your future teammates have run so far, but do you know anybody on the Iowa State team currently, or that will be going there?
Not personally, no. I know of them, but no. Well, other than my teammate, Connor Roth, that signed with Iowa State too, from Hawkeye, so I guess I'll know him pretty good coming in.
So let's say 3 or 4 years ago, somebody had sat down with you and said, hey, in 3 or 4 years, you're going to be competing among the best of the best in the Big 12 Conference, running 800s. What would you have thought at the time?
I would have told them they were crazy.
Feels pretty good to have gotten there, huh?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, best of luck. Thanks for coming in. We certainly appreciate your time, and look forward to following you in the future.
Thank you.